it's Alice, and I am here for this week's book chat. So there isn't all that much to talk about this week. We've had some announcements from FairyLoot, we've had some cover reveals of some Samantha Shannon novellas, but other than that it's been quite a quiet week, which is appreciated because the last few weeks have been pretty full on. But I do just want to start this video by saying that FairyLoot have done an announcement on the Throne of Glass set. They have announced that the sale has been pushed back. They're going to give us more details when they've rearranged it. I'm assuming that does mean that we're getting a redesign, whether a full redesign or just like partial, I don't know. But it is kind of pushed back for an unknown length of time. So we'll keep you updated as and when they announce that. But they posted that earlier in the week, so it's nice that they've given us an update. I think the sale date was supposed to be tomorrow, I think. So it's nice that they've given people enough time before the sale date to find out that information. And it also does mean that anybody who is trying to buy the set now has more time to save up for it, which I think is a great idea because they did announce it last month. And when you consider the fact I think it's £160, that is a lot for people to budget for if it's coming out of their next paycheck and they're not expecting it. So I think it's actually kind of worked out for the best this way because people will get a bit more time to save up their funds. Also from FairyLoot this week we had their announcement of the Hemlock Queen by Hannah Witten, which I said last week I thought was going to be announced this week, and it has been. That is going to be general sale on May the 15th, so a little bit of time until that goes on sale, and that's the sequel to the Foxglove King, which they featured in the adult fantasy box last year. So again, if you're subscribed to any of the boxes, if you look at the details on their website, it should let you know if you're eligible for any of the pre-sales. They've also announced Beneath These Cursed Stars by Lexi Ryan. That one is on general sale on June the 21st, and that is the companion spin-off series to These Hollow Vows? Yes, I did remember that right. So if you want to read the new book by itself, you can. It doesn't rely on you reading the first two books in the series, but according to early reviews, it does spoil the events of the first two books in the series. So if you're interested in These Hollow Vows duology and haven't read them yet, then I'd recommend reading those before you read this one. But they are doing early access for people who bought These Twisted Bonds through FairyLoot. So again, check up on their announcements for any of that kind of information. They also released another 2 aesthetic reels this week. So we had the Romantasy aesthetic reel up first. Autumn from the Autumn Book Reads believes that this is going to be Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. This sounds like it's another indie pick that's been picked up by a traditional publisher and is being reprinted. It isn't one that I'd heard of before, but it's one that Autumn seems really super excited about. And we also had the FairyLoot adult aesthetic reel up for June, and this looks like it's going to be The God and the Gummy Hoe by Sophie Kim. So this had been leaked by Autumn a few months ago that they were going to be doing an edition of this, but obviously everybody didn't know if it was going to be coming in one of the subscriptions or would be coming in one of the special edition sales by itself. Completely lost my brain for a second there. Just realised, should have remembered not to spoil those. But again, these are just guesses. Pretty much guaranteed, but they are just guesses. So I'm sorry if you've been spoiled for any of this. I should have thought of that before I said it, but I was too excited. But yes, it's pretty much guaranteed that those are going to be the books that are picked. The God and the Gummy Hoe is one that I'm very interested in. Again, haven't heard of Nectar of the Wicked, but it sounds interesting enough to me that I will be getting it. So it's looking like June's going to be a pretty expensive month, but that's the problem with being a book collector. As I mentioned, we also had cover reveals for 2 Samantha Shannon novellas this week as well, and those are The Pale Dreamer and The Dawn Chorus. So these are just being released digitally for the time being, so it's going to be new edited ebook versions, revised editions to bring them into line with the 10th anniversary Samantha's versions of the Bone season that we've been getting so far. They are only going to be available digitally until the Bone season is released in paperback, in which case The Pale Dreamer will be bound up with that. But Samantha has said that she doesn't know when the Dawn Chorus will be coming out physically. I think that's meant to sit between the 3rd book and the 4th book, which is The Song Rising and The Mask Falling. Don't quote me on that, but I'm assuming that that means that when The Song Rising gets packaged up into the paperback, that will likely be added on to that, especially because The Song Rising is like the thinnest book in the Bone Season series so far. It would make sense to pad that out a little bit. But again, if I find out that information, I will update you on a future episode of Book Chat. Last but not least, we've also had some announcements from the YA Book Prize this week. So they're going to be confirming who the judges are for this year's Book Prize on April the 18th. And the winner is going to be announced on August the 22nd, with the shortlist being announced on June the 13th. So that means that we've got about 2 months until the shortlist comes out, and then there's just over 2 months to read it. If you've been around on this channel in the past few years, you'll know that I always read all of the books on the YA Book Prize shortlist, and I try to read them before the prize is announced so that I can choose my own winner. Whether I will get that done this year or not, I don't know, because this book slump has been kicking my little behind, but I'm feeling optimistic about it. I think there's going to be a lot on there that I'm excited to read. I mean, I'm hoping so. And I'm thinking that it could be quite a fun, like more upbeat prize this year, because we've been getting a lot of light-hearted YA, UK YA specifically, releases in the past 12 months. But all will be revealed. And I will probably try to do like a reaction discussing the shortlist video with you, because I've done those for the last few years and I think you enjoy those, and I definitely enjoy filming them. So if you're interested in more YA Book Prize content as the time comes closer, then please do remember to subscribe, because obviously we'll always be here, even if we're uploading sporadically and not on a very tight schedule. We will be around, and we're always here to discuss those kinds of things. So that's all the bookish news for this week. So now it comes to the big book update, and it's a mixed bag, to be honest with you. I basically have completely abandoned Dark Star Burning, Ash Falls White. I am still on the same page that I told you I was on 2 weeks ago. I have just had the most horrendous case of repeaty brain with it, and for some reason I just can't get into Zen's chapters whatsoever. So I just thought, you know what, we'll take a step back from it. We'll leave it for now. As it gets closer to expiring on the library, I will panic and try and read it again. But I've actually been focusing on reading some non-fiction this week, which is House Love by Patrick Richardson. And it's not revolutionary. It's a book by somebody who has written a book called Laundry Love in the past. He's very well known because he has a store at the Mall of America, and he does laundry workshops that teach you how to like look after garments, and apparently he's also interested in doing home decor. So he's written this book to take you on a room by room tour of your house, to give you advice and tips and inspiration for how to refresh and spruce up your setting. I've been trying to declutter and clean for a real long time. I have hoarding characteristics. I wouldn't say I am a hoarder. It's not diagnosed. It's not at that level yet, and I'm fighting really hard to not let it get to that level. But as any of my friends could tell you when they come around, like, it's a messy house. I wouldn't say that it's dirty. Like, we do try and make sure that it's clean, but it is very messy here, and I would just like to get to a stage where the kids are growing up in a clean and welcoming space, and where we've got a little bit more room for activities, which would be nice. So I've been looking at reading some of my minimalism books, and I've been looking at reading some of the decluttering books to see if I can really get the ball rolling on that. Been doing a lot of research on forums as well, which has been helping a lot. Discovered there's something called clutter blindness, in which you can't even see the mess that's in front of you, and I definitely think Sean might have that, because he's very much one of those people that I'm like, oh, could you clean up that pile? And he's like, oh, I hadn't noticed it. So I'm hoping that with doing this research we'll be able to get into a better position. House Love is just kind of encouraging me along this process, but it's not really teaching me anything I don't know. Patrick likes sustainable and environmentally friendly solutions, so he relies a lot on discussing like a 50-50 vinegar and warm water solution, and using things like that to clean around your house, just kind of getting the reusable spray bottles, refilling of that, just going mad all over your house with it. Lots of discussions about feather dusters and horsehair brushes, and those things that might cost a little bit more but will last longer in the long run and are better for the environment when you do eventually have to dispose of them, because they will break down and they are biodegradable. So it's all things that's getting the little brain ticking over. And I'm about halfway through it, actually. I've managed to read nearly half of that just this week. So we've done the entryway, we've done the living room, we've done the dining room, of which I don't have one because we've just got like a big continuous space. But I read that anyway and really didn't get any kind of advice from it. But Patrick's got a really nice tone to his writing. in which you do feel like you're kind of having a conversation with a friend, and they're telling you all about these like buffets that they've had and these dinner parties they've had, and it's nice to be there for the ride even if you haven't experienced it. And then I've also read the bedroom and the kitchen chapters. The bedroom was very much a focus on cleaning, not decluttering, and I feel like I could have really done with the other side of that. So when he's discussing like the closet, he's like, oh, when you take your clothes out to like get rid of clothes and you've put them into piles like donate and repair and keep, while you've got those clothes on your bed, clean the closet, make sure that you've like greased up the rail so that the hangers slide better. But I'm like, I could really do with more of like the what clothes to keep, what clothes not to keep, because I'm very bad at getting rid of things like that. But it's just not the book for that. So it definitely makes me feel inspired to get the areas neater so that I can do those cleans on them. And I did do a really big clean of my kitchen on Thursday when I had my day off. I got everything out of the kitchen cupboards and redid it, so that felt great. So it is quite inspirational, but it's not as informative as I really need at this point. It's a bit basic. Not in a bad way, but a little bit. The other book I've been reading this week is What We Didn't Say by Rory Dunlop, and I think I briefly touched on this last week because Sophia had just pulled it out of my TBR jar for me, and I've actually like just fallen head over heels into this book. Not like in love with it, I'm just really struggling to stop thinking about it, and when I do pick it up I'll think, oh, I didn't really manage to read a lot, but then I've already read like 10%, and it's like a 300 and something page book, like it's fairly chunky, but I'm just really flying through it. So I don't know if it is just a case that I needed to take a step away from the fantasy, that I've been reading too much dense fantasy, like big sequels, highly anticipated, and I kind of got myself a bit overwhelmed. Because I knew nothing about this going in, and I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it because of the fact that I've been having so much of a struggle getting into books. But yeah, I'm halfway through it, and I honestly think that if I wasn't also reading House Love, I would have just powered through it by now. But this is a book that is discussing the breakdown of a marriage. So it begins with an email correspondence between Laura and Jack, in which Laura is asking him to contact her, and he's ignoring her, and she's getting very stressed about it. And then he emails her back and says, look, I haven't done anything stupid, whatever you mean, but I have written a diary, and I wasn't going to share this with you, but I think it's about time that you knew my side of the story. So what we are having at the moment is the prose is us reading Jack's diary, but Laura has actually edited in her opinions on things, which is really interesting because it means like he'll be in the middle of discussing like someone that he's met at a party or discussing something that he's done with his friends, and then you get Laura's little sardonic comments kind of saying, oh, are you sure that's how it happened? Are you sure that's what was going on here? And it's really interesting to see because you can see the dynamic between the characters playing out really well, even though it is just told through this diary and we haven't actually seen them interact kind of in real time yet. It's all reported interactions from Jack's perspective. So I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. We're at a stage right now where he believes that she's cheating on him with an artist because she's been going around to get her portrait painted, and she's told him like, look, I'm just getting my portrait painted, and then in the little aside she's like, I was just getting my portrait painted, like I never kissed him, nothing ever happened. And it's really interesting to see it from his perspective as how he's reading into all of these signs and reading into these things that are going on, and he's just so convinced all the evidence is mounted up, and then you've got Laura kind of jumping in and being like, if you just mentioned this, I could have explained, but you didn't. And I think it's just going to get more interesting from here because he's so convinced that she's cheating on him that he's kind of beginning to like investigate into her, and there's a lot of tension between them, and their relationship is starting to really feel the tension. And I think that knowing at the start of the book when they're having this email correspondence, it sounds like they've actually been separated for a couple of years already. So it will be interesting to see how we go from where they are now through that separation into Laura getting in touch again, and like what triggers that. So I'm so invested, and I really just love the writing style. I think it's Rory Dunlop's only novel, which is a shame because I would really love to read more from this author. But this is a debut novel, and I'm surprised it's as well crafted as it is, because it seems like it could so easily go the other way. It's a guy's diary about a relationship breaking down. It could so easily be misogynistic, or it could be inflammatory, or it could just be plain boring. But I think Jack is such a redeeming character that even though he is paranoid and he is kind of starting to go around behind Laura's back to look into her, you know that it's coming from a place of love, and you know that he's fully justified in how he's acting, or he believes he's fully justified. So you can still root for them, even though it's not the best behavioural traits for him to be exhibiting. So I will definitely let you know how that one ends, because it's not one that I've ever heard anybody talk about. I honestly think I probably just applied for it on NetGalley because it had a pen on the cover and an interesting title. But I'm really, really glad that Sophia picked it out, because it feels like exactly the book that I need to read at the moment. Something that's a bit smaller, something that's very intimately focused on just this one couple, and like there's very few characters. It's mostly taking place just in their home, to be honest with you. So I think that, yeah, it's just the perfect thing for my brain. When I'm struggling to deal with the big epic fantasies, it's nice to have something very, very small to sink into and to really like absorb myself in. The other book I want to give you a quick update on is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J Maas, in which we've managed to read a little bit further. We've gotten past that big spoilery quote that was released on Sarah J Maas's Instagram just before the release date. So that was kind of a, now we know what the quote was from. So that was exciting. And now getting past that, I still haven't seen any spoilers. So I have no idea what's going on from here on out. And I'm actually kind of living for it. I can't really say anything without being spoilery. But I will say I think we've managed to scrape our way over the quarter mark. Very slowly. Very, very slowly. And the lovely Becca has actually offered to let me listen to her audiobook copy if I haven't managed to finish it before it expires on the library app. So there is a chance that that might be easier for my brain to take in if I can just let Jesus take the wheel and listen to the book through my ears instead of with my mind. But we'll wait and see how it goes. I'm definitely not getting it finished before it expires on the library app, because that's in 2 days, and if it's taken us like a month solid to read 25%, 75% in 2 days is never going to happen. But I'm feeling optimistic, and I do have a physical copy, so even if we're at the stage where we can just slowly churn our way through a chapter a night, we might be able to get it done. But I do think that our ambitions to carry on with reading such thick sequels might have to be put on the back burner, because after finishing House of Flame and Shadow, we had lined up The Atlas Complex by Olivia Blake, which is the third and final book in the Atlas 6 trilogy. We had Empire of the Damned by J. Kristoff, which is the sequel to Empire of the Vampire. So we were going hard on the very, very thick and chunky sequels. And based off of the way my brain is working, I don't think it's going to happen. But we have been trying to sort out some books to unhaul. And we are in a position where we've got a pile of books that are like shorter that we want to read before we donate them, but we don't know if we're going to enjoy them. So it might be nice to just take the pressure off, churn through some of those, and then go back to one of these dense books where it's a third or second book in a series. I feel like we've invested a lot of time in, and I really want the payoff. So I'm putting too much pressure on myself and on the books, and that's not healthy. But that is everything for Book Chat this week. Next week's episode, I don't know if there's going to have been any reading done, because I've got so much on this week. We've got Free Cone Day, so if you have a Ben & Jerry's local to you and you're in the UK, or it might be worldwide actually, but on Tuesday, you can go to your Ben & Jerry's and get a free cone. So that's not bookish, but that's still exciting. I've got some interviews. We're going for a meal with a friend. And then we've got Taylor Swift's The Tortured Poets Department releasing on Friday. So it's only 5 days away. And I'm very, very excited. So as you can tell, from Friday onwards, there will be no reading. There will just be Taylor Swift in this household. So we will wait and see. But if the next episode of Book Chat is just me waxing lyrical about Taylor Swift's album, I apologise in advance. And you're more than welcome to skip episode 5 and just go straight into episode 6 when that gets released. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. We will see you again next week with another episode of Book Chat, and we'll hopefully have some uploads during the week as well. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you'd like to subscribe, we'd be super duper grateful. And if you'd like to leave your thoughts on anything mentioned in this video down below, then we would be really, really excited to chat. I'm Alice. This is the Bumbling Vlogger. Thank you so much for watching. Bye! I don't know why I clicked. What's wrong with me? Also, I need to post for thumbnails, so I'll just have to write that right at the end here.